Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Chembasis. So in this video, I am going to talk about isomerism. So this is basically the second part of the lecture series on stereochemistry, and in this lecture, I am going to talk about the isomerism, what are the different types of isomerism that is present in organic molecules. So let's start this video. So first of all, the first question arises that what is an isomer? So isomers are basically different compounds which are having same molecular formula. So now let's see that this isomer can be subdivided into two portions. The first one is called constitutional isomer and the second one is called stereoisomer. Now come to the constitutional isomer. Now constitutional isomers are having same molecular formula, however they are having different structure or different bond connectivity. So let's understood it using some example. Now here you can see the two structure, one is butane and another is 2-methyl propane. Now if you see the molecular formula of this two structure, they are same, C4H10, both are having same molecular formula. However, as you can see that they are having different structure, so that's why they are constitutional isomer. On the other hand, if you see the structure of 1-chloropropane and 2-chloropropane, you will see that in case of 1-chloropropane, this chlorine atom is connected to the terminal carbon atom. However, in case of 2-chloropropane, the chlorine atom is connected to the middle carbon. So that's why you can see that the bond connectivity is different in between 1-chloropropane and 2-chloropropane. However, they are having same molecular formula. So that's why they are also constitutional isomers. So constitutional isomers are having same molecular formula, but their structures are totally different. Now, what is stereoisomer? Now, stereoisomers are having same molecular formula, same structure or bond connectivity. However, in case of stereoisomer, the arrangement of the atoms in space is different. So, let's see with some example. So, this is a compound that is called cis 1,2-dimethyl cyclopentane, and this is trans 1,2-dimethyl cyclopentane. Now you can see that both are having same molecular formula and same bond connectivity. However, in case of cis, the two methyl groups are in the same direction, both are towards upwards direction. On the other hand, in case of trans isomer, one methyl group is in upward direction and one methyl group is in downward direction. So this direction at which these two methyl groups are aligned is totally opposite in case of trans isomer. So that's why you can see that both these two compounds are having same molecular formula, same bond connectivity. However, the three-dimensional arrangement of methyl group in space is different in between cis and trans. So that's why they are called stereoisomer. Okay. Now this stereoisomer can be further subdivided into two parts. One is called enantiomer and another is called diastereomer. So please pay attention to these two parts. You have to understood it. You have to pay very much attention to understood what is called enantiomer and what is called diastereomer. Okay. So these are the definitions of enantiomer and diastereomer. So enantiomer are stereoisomers whose molecules are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. So here you can see that there are some word that is called stereoisomer. So enantiomer basically a type of stereoisomer and their molecules are non-superimposable mirror images. So what is called this non-superimposable mirror image, that I will discuss later in the slide. Okay. And in case of diastereomer, they are also a type of stereoisomer whose molecules are not mirror image of each other. So in case of diastereomers, the two molecules are not related by any mirror images. So we will discuss all these things using some example. So first, let's see the example of diastereomer. So you can see that this is one compound that is called cis-1,2-dichloroethane, and this is trans-1,2-dichloroethane. So what is the basic difference between these two compounds? You can see that in case of cis-1,2-dichloroethane, both chlorine atoms are aligned in the same direction, towards the same direction. And in case of trans-1,2-dichloroethane, one chlorine atom is at this direction and another chlorine atom is opposite to this chlorine atom. So that's why they are called trans. Okay, so they are basically stereoisomer. Now if you see these two compounds, they are not related with some mirror image. So if you take a mirror and if you try to take the mirror image of this compound, it will be like that. So if you take the mirror image of this compound, you will get this one. So this one is definitely not trans one. Okay, so these two compounds, cis and trans, are not related by mirror image. So that's why they are called diastereomer. So they are not having mirror image relationship. Okay, so these are called the diastereomer. So before going into the details of the enantiomer, let's again see the subdivisions of the isomers. So I have told you that isomers are different compounds with same molecular formula. These isomers can be divided into two parts. One is called constitutional isomer, another is called stereoisomer. Constitutional isomers are having same molecular formula, however their bond connectivity are different. And in case of stereoisomers, they are having same bond connectivity, however the arrangement of the atom in three-dimensional space in case of stereoisomer is different. And these stereoisomers can be further subdivided into two parts. One is called enantiomer and one is called diastereomer. So I have told you that in case of diastereomer, these are not related to each other by any mirror image. And in case of enantiomer, we will discuss what is the definition of enantiomer in more detail in the next slide. So this slide is all about enantiomers and chiral molecules. So to understand enantiomer, you have to understand what is called chiral molecule, because enantiomer only occur with compounds whose molecules are chiral. So only chiral molecule will show enantiomer. Achiral molecule will not show enantiomer. So in my part 1 of this lecture series, I have given you a very brief description of what is called chiral object. So here I will give you the link of that lecture series. You can click on this link and you can go back to that lecture, so that it will be better to if you go back to that lecture and if you listen to that part, it will better to grab this portion. Okay, so first of all, what is chiral molecule? So a chiral molecule is one that is not superimposable on its mirror image. So let's understand it with some example. So you can see this is an example of trans 1,2-dimethyl cyclopentane. Now if you take a mirror and put a mirror in front of this molecule A, you will get a mirror image of this compound, which is all designated as AM. So if you try to superimpose this molecule over this molecule, you will see that you cannot able to do so. So you can try it on your own. You will see that they will not superimpose. So that's why this molecule is having a non-superimposable mirror image. So that's why this molecule is basically a chiral molecule. So the one of the very important way to test whether any molecule is chiral or not is to take the mirror image of that molecule and try to test the superimposability. If they are non-superimposable, then the molecule is chiral, and if the molecule is superimposable with its mirror image, then the molecule is achiral. So in that case, we can see that the molecule A is non-superimposable with its mirror image. So that's why this molecule A is basically a chiral molecule, and a chiral molecule only show enantiomer. And you can see that whatever the mirror image of this molecule is designated as AM, and this is basically an enantiomer of this molecule A. So this type of relation is called enantiomeric relationship. So these two mirror image are non-superimposable and they are enantiomer. Okay. So the thing I have told you that enantiomer do not exist for a chiral molecule. It only exists in case of chiral molecule. That is the most important point that you have to remember. Okay. So friends, let's understood this statement, that is enantiomer do not exist for achiral molecules with some example. So you can see that this is the structure of cis-1,2 dichloroethene. Okay, so this is basically an achiral molecule. Now if you take the mirror image of this achiral molecule, you will obtain this. Now you can see that you can easily superimpose this molecule with its mirror image by just flipping this molecule. So if you just flip this molecule, you will easily superimpose this molecule with its mirror image. So that's why you can see that as this molecule is achiral, so its enantiomer wouldn't exist because it do not have any non-superimposable mirror image. On the other hand, same thing also occur in case of trans-1,2 dichloroethane. If you take the mirror image of this molecule and if you try to superimpose, you could easily do that. So that's why the criteria of non-superimposability is not satisfied here. So that's why you can say that these types of achiral molecule do not have any enantiomer, because the enantiomer only occur for the molecule which is having a non-superimposable mirror image. Okay, so I hope that you get my point. So if you have any doubt regarding this portion or any portion of this lecture, you can ask me through the comment section. Okay, so these are the two very important points that I have discussed. So first thing is enantiomer occur only when the molecule is chiral. So in case of achiral, there is no question of arising any enantiomer. So achiral molecule do not have any enantiomer. And in case of chiral molecule, the relationship between the pair of enantiomer is called enantiomeric relationship. Okay, and the universal test for chirality of a molecule or any object is the non-superimposability of the molecule or object on its mirror image. So if you want to test whether any molecule is chiral or not, you have to draw the molecule first and then you have to draw the mirror image of that molecule, and you have to test whether they are non-superimposable or not. If they are non-superimposable, then the molecule is chiral, and if they are superimposable, then the molecule is achiral. Very simple way. So this is the universal test for chirality. So let's see, or let's try to do this universal test for this compound, that is 2-butanol. So this is the three-dimensional structure of this 2-butanol compound. So you can see that this solid wedge shows that the hydroxyl group is coming towards us. So this is above the plane, and this types of dash wedge structure shows that this hydrogen atom is directed below the paper or behind the paper. Okay, and these two group, that is ethyl group and methyl groups, are residing in the paper or in the plane of that screen. Okay, if you consider the screen as a plane, so this hydrogen is directed behind the screen and this hydroxyl group is directed above the screen. So this is the way of drawing the three-dimensional structure of 2-butanol. Now if you take the mirror image of this 2-butanol. This is the mirror image structure. And now these are the ball and stick model structure of this structure 1 and structure 2. Now if you try to test the non-superimposability of this two structure, you will see that these two structure are non-superimposable. So which shows that this compound 2-butanol is basically a chiral compound or chiral molecule, and the structure 1 and structure 2 are basically enantiomers. So they are having enantiomeric relationship. Okay. So 1 and 2 are non-superimposable. So the first conclusion is the molecule is chiral, and 1 and 2, these two structures are called the enantiomer. Now the question arises that in my previous slide I have discussed that this the universal test for chirality, but in case of this test you have to do so much thing. You have to first of all draw the structure of that molecule, then you have to take the mirror image of that molecule, and then you have to see the non-superimposability. So all those things take some time. So there are some simple way to test whether a molecule is chiral or not. So the criteria is that if the molecule is having only single chirality center, then the molecule will be definitely a chiral molecule. Now the question arises that what is this chirality center? Let's understand it. So a chirality center is basically a tetrahedral carbon atom that is bonded to 4 different groups. Now you know that the carbon atom is basically having a tetrahedral structure around it, and the angle between any two groups is around 109 degree. Now if this tetrahedral center, that is carbon center, is bonded with 4 different group A, B, C, D, then this center is called a chiral center. So if any molecule contain a single chiral center, then we can say with 100% confidence that the molecule is a chiral molecule. Now what happens when a molecule contain more than one chiral center? In that case we cannot say that the molecule is chiral with 100% confidence. So the molecule can be chiral or can be achiral. In that case we have to again check the non-superimposability with its mirror image. So we have to apply the previous formula, so where we have to draw the structure of the molecule, then we have to draw the mirror image of that molecule and try to see whether these two are non-superimposable or not. So for a single chirality center there is no problem, we can directly come to the conclusion that the molecule is chiral. But if a molecule is having more than one chirality center, then there is only one way to test the chirality. Okay. Now these types of chiral centers are basically designated by these types of asterisk. Okay. So you can see this is the structure of 2-butanol. You can see that this carbon atom is bonded with 4 different groups or atoms. So that's why this carbon center in case of 2-butanol is basically a chiral center. Now the one thing that you should remember that the chirality is basically a property of a molecule as a whole. Whenever we are saying the word chirality, we are talking about the whole molecule. We are not talking about any particular center. We are talking about the whole molecule. Okay. And on the other hand, the chirality center is basically a structural feature that can cause a molecule to be a chiral. So you can see that this is the chirality center, and this is a basically feature of this molecule or a property of this molecule, and this chirality center can make this molecule a chiral. On the other hand, this chirality is a property of that whole molecule. On the other hand, chiral center is basically a center portion, structural feature. Okay, so that is the difference between chirality and chirality center. Okay, so presence of chirality center can make a molecule chiral or can give a molecule a property that is chirality property. So the golden rule that I have discussed to you, that if a molecule contain only single chirality center, we can say with 100% confidence that the molecule is chiral. And in that case, I have told you that enantiomer only exists in case when for chiral molecule. So in that case, that molecule should have one enantiomer. Okay. Now friends, let's take an example of this molecule. Okay. Now let's take the mirror image of this molecule. So this is the mirror image of this molecule. Now if you just rotate this molecule 180 degree, you will get this molecule. Okay, same molecule, you just rotate it 180 degree, you will get this molecule. Okay, this conformation. Now you can see that the basic difference between A and B, which is basically nothing but the mirror image of that A molecule, is that these two groups, this hydrogen and hydroxyl group, are basically interchanged. So you can see that by interchanging these two groups, we can produce its mirror image. Okay, so you can see that A is converted into its mirror image B simply by interchanging this two group, that is hydrogen and hydroxyl group. So you can see that by interchanging any two group that is attached with any chirality center will produce an enantiomer. Okay, so you can see that interchanging any two groups at the chirality center converts one enantiomer A into another, that is B. Okay, so this center is called the chirality center. Okay, now this center is also called a type of stereogenic center, because these two are related to this, because this one is basically an stereoisomer of B. So this is called chirality center or as well as stereogenic center. So if you just interchange any two group that is attached with some stereogenic center, you will get another stereoisomer. So in that case, in this case, we are getting the enantiomer. Okay, now let's take an example of this one. So you can see that this is a cis-1,2 dichloroethane. You can see that these two chlorine groups are directed in the same direction. Now if you just interchange this chlorine with hydrogen atom, okay, you will get trans-1,2 dichloroethane. Now you can see that this cis and trans, these two are related to each other. So they are basically stereoisomer of each other, and we can convert one stereoisomer into another one by simply interchanging the two group that is attached with this carbon center. So this center is called stereogenic center. Okay, now you can see that interchange of chlorine and hydrogen atom converts stereoisomer A into stereoisomer B. However, you can see that this carbon center is not a chiral center, because you can see that this carbon center is not connected to four different groups. So you can see that this carbon center is basically a stereogenic center, but it is not a chirality center. Okay, so all chirality centers are basically stereogenic center, but all stereogenic centers are not chirality center. Okay, so that is the main point that I want to tell you. Okay, now you can see that this is an example of 2-propanol. Okay, so you can see that this carbon atom is not attached to total 4 different groups. So this 2-propanol is not a chiral molecule. So I have told you that only chiral molecule has enantiomer. Okay, so if you take the mirror image of this 2-propanol, you will see that this compound and this compound are superimposable, because as this compound is not chiral, it do not have any non-superimposable mirror image. Okay, so there is one problem that I have discussed with you, That is, does 2-bromopentane have a chirality center? If so, write 3-dimensional structure for each enantiomer. So I have solved this problem for you. So this is the structure of 2-bromopentane. So you can see that in case of 2-bromopentane, this carbon atom is attached to 4 different groups. So that's why this center is basically a chiral center, and these are the 2 different enantiomer of this compound. Okay. So basically chirality center is basically one type of stereogenic center, but it is tetrahedral stereogenic center. Why it is tetrahedral? Because these are bonded to total 4 different groups. So that's why they are tetrahedral stereogenic center. Now friends, let's discuss that what is the biological importance of chirality. Why we are so much concerned about the chirality. So let's take this example. So you can see that this is the structure of one enantiomer. Okay, so you can see that this is some hydrogen atom, this is some amino group, and this is some carboxylate group. Okay, so it has some particular orientation, you can see, and this is the mirror image of this molecule or this amino acid, which is also having some particular orientation, which is exactly mirror image of this compound. Now suppose this is some substrate or some enzyme. So this amino acid, if want to react with this substrate, so this enzyme is also having some 3-dimensional structure. So you can see that only this compound or this enantiomer can react with this enzyme, because in this approach, if this molecule is approached in this way, you can see that this will fit into this will fit into this, and this portion will fit into this. So it will be a perfect match for only this enantiomer. On the other hand, its mirror image will not react with this enzyme or this substrate, because it will not match, this portion will not match with this portion, or this portion will not match with this portion. So you can see that in our body, most of the enzyme or most of the substrate are also chiral. So in that case, only a particular enantiomer will participate in some particular reaction. So that is the biological impact. So friends, what is the test for chirality? So in this slide, we will understood that we will discuss about one of the tests for chirality, that is plane of symmetry. So I have told you that one of the ultimate way to test whether a molecule is chiral or not is to construct the model of the molecule and its mirror image and try to see whether they are superimposable or not. This is the ultimate test for chirality. However, there are some simple way to test the chirality of some molecule. So if any molecule contain a single chirality center, so if any molecule contain a single chirality center, in that case we can say with 100% confidence that the molecule is a chiral molecule. On the other hand, there is another way to test the chirality of a molecule is to see that there is any presence of a plane of symmetry or not. If the molecule do not possess any plane of symmetry, then the molecule can be chiral. But if the molecule contains some plane of symmetry, then we can say with 100% confidence that the molecule is achiral. So presence of single chiral center make a molecule chiral. On the other hand, presence of some plane of symmetry make a molecule achiral. Okay. So you can see that what is called the plane of symmetry. So plane of symmetry is basically plane which will divide the molecule into 2 portions, and this 2 portions will be exactly mirror image of each other. So you can see this is an example. You can see this is a molecule. Now if you see that, if you draw the 3-dimensional structure of this molecule, you will see that this is the plane of symmetry, and it will divide the molecule into 2 portions, that is portion 1 and portion 2, and you will see that these 2 portions are exactly mirror image of each other. So as this molecule possesses a plane of symmetry, so we can conclude that the molecule is achiral in nature. Okay. So that's it from this second part of this lecture series. I know that this portion become bit large, however I have to complete this portion in a single lecture. So if you do have any question during this whole lecture series lecture, you can ask me through the comment section. And thank you very much for your kind attention, and I will see you in the next lecture, where I will discuss about the how to do the naming or the nomenclature of different types of enantiomer. So this lecture will be very important, so stay tuned for that lecture, and till then take care of yourself. Bye bye.